We're doing this like now. Like Liz
Correct. So
Truss
you
is to make
have
a statement
basically
at 1:30.
a trio of the most
Right.
important people in
I'm
politics.
watching
It's
Sky
not a
News Live.
quitter, but this is a week for U-turns, and it looks as if there is going to be a major announcement on her future at 1:30. And the problem for Liz Truss, the sort of emotionally difficult thing, I think, will be that she's going to have to talk through in some detail, if she does go, what that departure looks like and what happens next. She's sort of having to sign off on her own execution, and there is no politician in the land who would ever enjoy that process. So it's not going to have been pretty behind the doors in number 10. So we wait to find for the conclusion of that. But I think what you heard from Roger Gale there was what it
Desperation.
sounds like when the political markets moved. And it sounds like in the tea room with Tory MPs that he was talking about speaking to, the markets have moved, and they moved after yesterday's extraordinary chaos. Yesterday was a day that could have, filled a month's worth of news cycles. You had a U-turn over the pensioner triple lock, which was on the table for cuts, and then Liz Truss abandoned that. There was uncertainty over what she's going to do about the Northern Ireland Protocol. There was the sacking of a senior aide. Then there was the sacking of Suella Braverman for leaking confidential material. Then there was the massive dust-up with her own party over fracking, and then there were the chaotic scenes in the voting division lobbies, and then there were the ways that was handled, and then the resignation and unresignation of her chief whip, and the confirmation in the early hours of this morning that Wendy Morton is still in post. I mean, I think that just emotionally and practically and politically, so much for Conservative MPs to swallow just in that period of time, that I think that really so many of them now clearly coming to the conclusion that
She gotta go.
that she has to go, and
Yeah, that's it. Make sure the lectern is set up
for a podium
just
moment at 1:30, and that's when we will find out
Liz Truss
exactly
likes
what she's got to say.
her photos.
But this is not a personality drama alone. This is also a massive economic and political crisis, because, as I keep taking us back to, there are
Starmer
the
called for an election
difficult
earlier.
decisions that this country is ever going to have to make.
What I want.
And they're now going to have to make them without a prime minister, or potentially without a prime minister in place. So how on earth can Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, continue to find savings somewhere in the order of 40 billion, which is not, Anna, that far away from what George Osborne and David Cameron did, with months of planning, very careful political pitch rolling in a much calmer economic environment back in 2010. Now, Jeremy Hunt's got to do that in 10 days, possibly without a prime minister, certainly with loads of politicians looking over their shoulder, cabinet members looking over their shoulder at who might inherit the crown, what jobs they're all going to be doing, how hard to fight on various things. We are landing this crisis, this political crisis, at the same time as we've got an economic crisis. And in the end, that's not really to anybody's benefit. Now, the alternatives, keep Liz Truss in place, try and, apply a sticking plaster solution. Well, they're not pretty either. There isn't an easy way forward. Nobody's saying any of this is without downsides, but because of yesterday, and that dogged determinism to have fights.
I suppose
the
it's
thing
scrap
that undid Liz
or
Truss
something
yesterday was
amongst
her,
MPs
again,
as
her
well as
conviction that
bullying.
she is right to take on her party, to try and force through her agenda,
And beat the
to
shite
face
out
down opponents in her party,
of
to do
Rees
all of
Mogg.
that, not recognising the vulnerabilities of her political position as she did it. And I think, and it's that disconnect, I think, ultimately that's been her downfall. She seems to she has given every impression.
Every time she
of thinking that
speaks,
she
look,
can just
Sam.
push
Every
things
time she
through at
speaks, she
every
looks like a
stage,
confused chicken.
that she hadn't got the political consensus behind, that she hadn't done the work on, and she seemed to think she could say it and it would happen. Whether it was yesterday's fight, whether it was the mini budget, whether it was the legislative programme that she was going to set out. And in politics, you can't just say things. You need to build coalitions, consensus, and get people on board. But she's fought people in her own party from before she was Prime Minister, during that really rather divisive leadership contest, and then not recognise the bruising, the scars, the hurt, the upset, and the division. And that's one of the things that's led to this moment.
Okay, Sam, thanks very much indeed. Well,
Sam
let's
stuck
cross
for
now
words.
to our political editor, Beth Rigby, who's there in Downing Street, watching them get the podium ready for Liz Truss's statement, which is due in just 2 minutes' time. So, Beth, what are you hearing about what this could contain?
And I've been told the Prime Minister is about to resign.
Ha!
The number 10 source
I knew
tells
it.
me it's all over. I've been told the Prime Minister will come out here and she's going to have to stand down.
So, quite a moment then, Beth, this for a Prime Minister who's been in place for just 6 weeks.
The
Indeed it is, Anna,
shortest
but
term
as we
ever
have
for a
been
Prime
talking
Minister.
about in recent
That
days,
is funny.
it has become increasingly untenable for Liz Truss.
General
the
election,
the mini budget,
please.
having to
It
sack
won't happen,
her
but
Chancellor,
please.
then her Home Secretary resigning, the chaos in the Commons. Now, as I was saying, there was a hope within the party that she could hang on in there perhaps till at least that statement. But I have been told that in a couple of minutes, the Prime Minister, who has just been in office for a few weeks, is going to have to stand down. Watch for the resignation of Liz Truss. As one source in number 10 told me, it's all over.
It's all
Okay,
over.
and Beth, we will keep chatting to you until we see the Prime Minister emerging from number 10. But was there a feeling that the last 24 hours were the breaking point? We saw the departure of the Home Secretary and then chaotic scenes in the voting lobby last night over a vote on fracking.
She was really funny all morning.
Was that critical in her stepping down?
All fucking morning. Like Sky News on the top left of its screen has it said pound latest one. It's got the pound to the dollar is 1 to 1.13, 1 to 1.13, and the 1 to 1.2, and it's like just now gone up to 1.13. It's like well, at least the markets endorse something of Liz Truss.
Down today.
Yes, I think it was, Anna, because as I was saying, even in the afternoon, yesterday afternoon, when I was talking to senior party figures, there was a sense that Sir Graham Brady, the chair of the Backbench 22 committee, didn't want to cause more turmoil in the run-up to that critical fiscal statement. That was sort of mid-afternoon yesterday. And then the thing that really undid the whole precipice, or everything hanging on that precipice, and tipped it over the edge, was that fracking vote. And it's always the things that sometimes catch you
this
out.
Is gold for
but
Labour.
The chaos around, was it a confidence or not vote or not? And all of those MPs getting agitated in the lobbies. And it just seemed that this government just wasn't functioning.
Nope.
It wasn't fit for purpose. And I think that has triggered many MPs to say enough is enough. As we know, there's already been 16 letters in. Graham Brady has been in there today. The Deputy Prime Minister, Therese Coffey, has been in. Jake Berry, the party chair, has been in. They've had a meeting. It's over for Liz Truss. According to my source, she's going to have to step down. It's absolutely extraordinary. She has been in post but 6 weeks.
So your sources suggesting that Liz Truss is about to emerge from Downing Street to announce her resignation. If that is the case, Beth, the big question is what next?
She's gone up to 17 MPs as well.
That absolutely is the case, Anna, and I don't have an answer on what's next. And that was one of the things that was keeping Liz Truss
at least it's
in
not like
10,
60 MPs
that
resigned
MPs just simply
leave.
couldn't decide on who should replace her. There has been talk, one minister, and this was someone that backed Liz Truss, I should say, said that there should be a Rishi Sunak Penny Mordaunt deal where they take over. Grant Shapps might fancy himself for the job. Jeremy Hunt, Suella Braverman, certainly fancies herself on the right of the party. And the question for the Conservatives is, how do they have an orderly handover of power? Maybe we will learn a bit more of that today. There were lots of discussions about whether they would lift the nominations to say 100, 120 MPs in order to get on the voting ballot in order to stand as a candidate. There was some talk about whether Sir Graham would try and not rig that, but set the bar so high that effectively you got a unity candidate. Because I think there is a sense from MPs that they don't. I can feel everyone's getting quite jittery now as we wait for the Prime Minister to come out. But there was a sense from MPs
I don't want to go
that they
on
didn't.
Get the fuck out of there.
they don't want to have a long drawn out contest. They can't have a too much contest. Again, that much is clear. There's a question about what do they do with the membership. You'll remember it wasn't Liz Truss, it was Rishi Sunak that run with MPs. Liz Truss was the choice of the party members, and I think that the government
2 seconds. Sorry about that.
The governing party, the Conservative Party, will want a short contest. They might even want to anoint a successor. But Anna, this party is so divided that I'm not clear about how easy that process will be.
And the context for this, Beth, as we wait the Prime Minister, running 3 minutes late at the moment, it was due to happen at 1:30. Let me just remind people of the context.
She's holding on right
context.
now.
Not just a political crisis here, but there has been a markets crisis as well. And the market's no doubt watching very closely too.
Yes, the markets are watching closely, but you'll remember, Anna, that when...
Beth, shut the fuck up.
Coming out, let's listen in.
Here we go.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability.
Yep, and you left it even
Families
worse.
and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills.
Yep, and you made it worse.
Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent. And our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. We delivered on energy bills and on cutting national insurance. And we set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party.
Oh dear.
I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
Where the fuck you were going to go.
This morning I met the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. We've agreed that there will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. This will ensure that we remain on a path to deliver our fiscal plans and maintain our country's economic stability and national security. I will remain as Prime Minister until a successor has been chosen. Thank you.
Well, at least she didn't come out crying this time. Smile on
and
her
so
face.
Liz Truss announcing her resignation as Prime Minister after just 6 weeks in office. Our political editor, Beth Rigby, was listening to that statement. So, Beth, what did you make of it?
Well, it was short and to the point, Anna, wasn't it? She, the Prime Minister, said, I cannot deliver the mandate for which I have been elected. I have spoken to the King. I've notified him I'm resigning. This morning, she met with Graham Brady, and she says that she and the chair of the 1922 party has agreed that the leadership election will be completed within the next week. Absolutely breakneck speed. So they wanted to keep her in post until that fiscal statement. Clear that she could not survive, that she literally could not manage or lead the party even for a couple of weeks longer. And they have decided between them that Liz Truss has to go. She stood down. We will have a new Prime Minister within a week. By the end of next week, Liz Truss is saying there will be a new Prime Minister. It's an absolutely astonishing turn of events.
So in 1 year, we'll have 3 Prime Ministers. 1 year. Does anyone realise how ridiculous that is? Like, this is beautiful. Like, we need general election. But, like, I did not see this coming. Not today. Well, I suppose after last night. I just didn't see it coming. Not this early. Well, here we go. Oh dear. Well, yeah. I thought I'd treat you guys to this one. If I get copyrighted, then fuck it. But like, this was just funny. I was kind of expecting this when I heard that the electing was being put up. I was like, oh, fucking right, I've got to put this on camera. So yeah, bless the Thursday. This has been Siadawita. It's been my dog Speaker. Goddag.